In this video, we'll see what is final keyword in Java and how to use it. So final keyword can be used with the final field in a class, with a final method, and also with with the class itself. So you can make your variable as final, you can make your method as final, and you can make your class itself as final. And it always restricts in some way. So if you make your field as final, that means that variable actually becomes a constant. It doesn't vary anymore. It becomes a constant value. If you use it with the final method, then you cannot override that method in a child class. And also, if you make your class itself as final, then it cannot be extended. So you prevent inheritance. Let's start with final variable. So if you make your variable as final, that means its value cannot be changed. It effectively becomes a constant. Let's try to see it with one example. Suppose I want to create a method in my class to calculate area of the circle. I can write a method, say required calculate circle area. I pass the radius. And here I define, say without final, pi as 3.14159, and I use that to calculate area. Well, area equal to pi into radius, and I show it. Then I can create an object of this class and use it to call this method. Say 5, and we have the area. Anyway, the main thing here is that since this pi is going to be a constant value always, so to ensure that nobody changes it by mistake or intentionally, right now there is nothing that stops me from making this value as 4. Correct. So if I want to ensure that its value remains constant, I can mark this field as final. After that, if you see, becomes an error. You can't change the value of final variable. Once it is assigned, it remains constant. That will be the value it will always use. You can't change it in any way. And the convention is actually to make any final variable as both static as final, where final ensures that your field value of your field does not change, whereas static ensure that there is only a single instance of that variable, not in several instances associated with objects. So actually, I can define it as private static final double. Another convention is to make such final fields, you should write them in uppercase to differentiate between normal variables and constant. So it should actually be written like this: 0.14159. Then I can remove all this and use this here. Correct. And if that field variable name is more than one word, then you should use underscore as delimiter. So suppose I have a field name number of days in a week as 7. I want to declare a variable with that value. Then I should write it in capital letters, and also I should use underscore as delimiter between two words. So that's how you should define a final field in uppercase and using underscore also if it is made up of more than one word. So that's about final field. Then we also have final method. So you can also use final with method. So what happens with that is if you have a method that is declared as final in superclass, you cannot override it in any subclass. So if you are very sure that your method, whichever you have written in your parent class, has everything in it, should not be changed in any way by your child classes, then you can mark it as final. Let's see again a simple example. Suppose I have this kind of example where I have class A and I create another class B which extends A. So I can override this method here. Let's mark it with override annotation to ensure that it is an overridden method, and I can change it to class B display method. So I can do this. But if I mark it as final, then you cannot override. So now it becomes an error. Cannot override the final method from A. So that's how you can stop overriding of the method by marking your method as final. So let's see a proper example or a better example. So suppose I have a class named account where we have fields like account number, balance, and also method to deposit where you take the balance and add the passed amount to have a new balance. Same way withdraw. So you subtract the amount from the balance and you have the new balance. So whatever type of account you have, suppose I have saving account, current account as child classes of this, but at least this functionality remains same, deposit and withdraw. So I can make these methods as final here, right? So this is kind of a proper use case where you can actually think of making your method as final. It may have other method, these child classes, suppose you have rate and based on that you calculate interest, which may differ for both of them here, rate may be different. Actually, this also you can make as final, right? But how you deposit and withdraw, that remains same. So I don't want any child class to change it and make it different in any way. Suppose I take it from here, deposit, and I want to, so I'll have to change that as set balance in that case. With get balance plus amount. And I give 1,000 rupees extra. I can do that. You can override and change it in this way, which is not correct. But if I ensure that you cannot change these method, then again I can make it as final. With that, you see, starts getting an error. So that's kind of better example to show you where you can actually think of the scenarios to make your method or mark your methods as final so that they cannot be changed by the child classes. Same way, there is also a final class. So if you make your class itself as final, then it cannot be extended. So you avoid inheritance altogether. You go to this one, right? If I make my class itself as final, then I start getting error here itself. Cannot subclass the final class A. So it cannot even inherit from this class A because it is marked as final. So a practical use case you can think of when you are creating a immutable class, actually, that you make as final so that you cannot interfere with that functionality of immutability, like string class in Java, that is final because string is a immutable class given by Java itself. So it has been marked as final to ensure that nobody changes that functionality. So these are the things about final. So it always restricts in some way. Name itself says final. So you can think of it that way. Whether it's a field, method, or class, whatever is marked with as final is, well, final. Period. After that, no change. So that's all for final keyword in Java. Thanks for watching the video.